Just to give a bit of an intro, before I started using Monday, I basically had loads of important, property information and property data about my business scattered over all different apps. So I had, a to-do list app. I had an app called Evernote that I used for viewings. I used Google Drive loads to share, important documents with clients. Then I had, streams and streams of emails with private investors to keep them updated on projects. And it was just really time consuming, and, attachments got lost and all that kind of stuff. So now, since I've been using Monday, it's all condensed into one system. And since lockdown, I've literally just used it daily for everything. So it's like my property Bible. So yeah, I swear by it. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen now. And today I'll take you through the basics of how to set up Monday and what keyboards that I use that help with my business. And then if there's anything else, you guys just let me know. So if I share my screen. Okay, can you guys see this? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah? Okay, great. Cool. So when you log into Monday, what opens up is what's called your Workspace. And your Workspace is basically structured through all these boards on the left. Now, these are boards that you've created yourself as a user. So what is a board? So a board is basically a group of data or information about your business. So it's things that you might have kept in the past on Google Drive or on CRM tools or whatever that might be. These are my boards under property. You'll see I've got some up here that don't really make sense. They're my husband's boards, just ignore them. They're for his business because we share the membership. So I'll start off with kind of the most basic kind of board, which is just a note-taking board. So here, this is when I first started Monday. I just used to save in any kind of important information, important data, things that I wanted to look back to. I just used to drop it into these topics of information here. So when you set up a board, you'll automatically get this left-hand column. Then you fill in line items. So kind of like a status report that you'd create on Excel. Now this left-hand column here, which is your main column, they all come with this speech bubble here. And if you click on here, this is where you can add more detail or further updates to that line item. So for example, I've got an item here called Danny Meetings. So that's all the meetings that I'm doing with my mentor. And then you'll see I've done an information box for every meeting that I've had with Danny for the past 2 years. So I can easily just log in at any point and go back to all these notes that I've made. So this is for kind of detailed note taking. You'll see all these notes that I've made here. And then you can also add files. So if Danny's sending me any files or photos or anything, I can link it up to this item that's about him. So this is just, very basic note taking. And then what you'll find with Monday is that you want to create boards with as many columns as you want to create the kind of reports that you need. So this is a column that I've got called People. Now it's just me and my property business. So it's mainly my face that I always see here. But if I had maybe, another person, or I know a lot of you guys work with VAs, you can tag them into these lines. So let's say I'm going to tag Sam because he's on my Monday. And it means that Sam gets a notification to say, hey, come and have a look at this latest update I did about the Danny meeting. So you can read about it and catch up on what we spoke about and what I learnt. And then you use this add column feature to basically add as many columns as you want to keep track of these line items. So it's kind of like Excel when you'd right click into Excel and go add column to the right. It's exactly like that. But you can have all these different content formats. So the top ones is you've got your status. So if you're keeping track of something to say whether you're working on it, you're stuck, or it's complete, you might add like a status line like you do on status reports with project management. You can also add columns for basic text, add columns for people, like I've said. You can add dates, so key dates that relate to that line item. So let's say I've got something I need to send Danny by a date. I'd add this due date here, and then I might tag me or Sam in, and then we'll get a notification on that date that something, you know, needs to happen that relates to the dining meeting. You can also add tags. I'll go on to that later because that's a bit more complicated. And then there's also numbers. So this is good for if you want to keep track of maybe like property values, maybe previous offers that you've made on properties, that would be a number. And then more columns. So these columns can be, you know, multiple different content formats they've got as options here. So you can do like a checkbox. If you've got a checklist of things you need to do, you can add a checkbox column there. If you've got a location, you can add a location. So if you've got all your properties on there and you add a location, it basically links out to a map. So if you write your property's address, your investor or you can go in, link out and see exactly where it is on a map. You know, phone number if you want to call directly from Monday, all these kinds of things, you know, just have a look through and you can do it. But the main ones that you'll be using are these generic text numbers and dates, really, because that's the main project management tools that you need. So this is, as I said, a very basic note-taking board. And so I'll show you basically 4 different types of boards that I use and that I've needed to create for my business that I think are most helpful. So the first is property viewings. So as a developer or as an investor, you're probably doing a lot of viewings or you're looking at a lot of different properties online. So this viewings board is basically where I keep track of all the viewings that I'm doing, the dates that I went on them, any offers that I've made, and reminders to follow up. So if I open up, so Stockport, I only started using this for viewings in lockdown, so you can see it's quite a small list, but you know, in a few months this will be much longer. So what I have here is I've got the address, and then here in the conversation bubbles I mentioned before, I've added in all the photos I took on that viewing and any notes that I took. So things like the size of rooms, the condition of the building, things like that. Then I've got the date that I went to view, the status. So if that viewing's been accepted, great, that's a green. Not interested, like why isn't it suitable? I've just put a note there, it's not suitable because there's no bin storage available. And then I've got ones to follow up. So these 2, for example, they're direct to vendor. They've rejected my first offer, but they're coming back with their suggested price. You see, I've noted that here. So I've got to follow up with them on June the 19th, and I've tagged myself to basically get back in touch with that vendor and see, you know, if they've got an update on the price they want. Then I've got the current offer that I've made, and then the max offer that I'll go to. Obviously, you know, everyone has those in their mind from various, you know, spreadsheets that you'll use. And then you've got the tags that I'll go on to later. But this is basically just an overview. If you imagine how many viewings you're doing in a year, you know, this will eventually have hundreds and hundreds of viewings that I've been on, and it means that I can easily go back, look at photos, look at what offers I made. You know, if a viewing goes off the market, if a property goes off the market, and then the agent calls me in 6 months and said, look, it's ready, you know, it's come back on the market and they're ready to move quickly, I can really easily go back in here and find out all the information previously. So it's just a really, really helpful way of keeping track of everything. So that's viewings. And then I've got one here for property sourcing, which is kind of like how I'd use, that relates mostly to kind of like a CRM tool. So this is all around, we did a direct to vendor marketing campaign at the start of the year where we sent a load of letters out to building owners, seeing if they wanted to sell, if they were open to selling their property. So this is kind of like a sales funnel of leads. So I'm just going to move the screen over because I'm just going to keep the addresses private. But if I drop this down here, if you imagine all the addresses that I've reached out to are on the left, then I've got notes in terms of, you know, what the vendor's currently saying, any conversations that I've had, next action with that vendor, you know, what do I need to be doing? Last time I spoke to them, so that's a date, what the status is, when I need to next follow up. And then I've tagged myself, so I'll get a reminder to follow up with those people. And then here it says title download. And I haven't attached this information yet, but eventually I need to be, you know, here is where I'd attach any title agreements that I've downloaded. If maybe there's a property that's sold next door that I'm like, oh, I need to bear that in mind because that's a good value, I'll save links to that property, just so that all of these notes relate to these individual to these individual line items and to these buildings. And this is a group that I've just created by adding in all these different columns. And then this is where the tags come in. So you can use a tag to basically track it's basically to track an item. So if I imagine all my items really are going to be properties, I've got a tag here called Lower Hillgate. So this was a vendor that I wrote to. She got in touch with me. You can see I went around the site. I need to follow up with her still, but I've got a tag here called Lower Hillgate. And if I click on that, it searches where else in Monday I've written about Lower Hillgate. So it'll just link me to that viewings board. And then I quickly can open up the viewings board, go to Lower Hillgate, look at all the information from the viewing. So it enables me to just move between boards dependent on that property or item that I'm talking about, which in this case is Lower Hillgate. Then I'm just trying to think if I go back to, I'll go back to this over here. So I kind of use this property sourcing one, like I said, almost like a CRM in terms of, it's almost like the vendors are my sales leads, aren't they? Because I'm trying to get them to see if they're interested in selling their building. And it just allows me to keep track of all the conversations I've had, when I last spoke to them, and then it will send me reminders of when I next need to speak to them or I next need to chase them. And then it links out to other boards where I've saved various pieces of content on that building. Cool. I was trying to think to move around. Yeah, 1 second. Here we go. Right. Sorry, I was trying to get off my property sourcing board. Okay, cool. And then so another board, which is more kind of, so this is good for budget. So this is where you'll use the numbers and the formula columns that you can do. So this is called materials orders. But this is basically, you can use this for any kind of shopping list or any kind of budget. If you're doing a big refurbishment budget, it allows you to do it in here rather than doing it in Excel. So again, you've got everything on the same platform. So I've done an example here of a shopping list for a HMO. So as any of you guys know who do HMOs or serviced accommodation, there's going to be various items that you'll order for every single property. So here I've just got the item, and then there's like a checklist, so you know if you've ordered it, so the order date, the price of that item, the quantity, and then like Excel, it does that formula for you to work out what that total price is. And then you can add a link to the item that you've ordered. So if you've got a VA that you work with, for example, who maybe does all this ordering for you, you can add a column here that's people, tag your VA, let's say Sam's my VA, and then they can just go through and they will checklist along everything they've ordered. And it means you can go into Monday and see where they're up to in ordering. And then you could even potentially ask them to save all the receipts, and then they would save all the receipts or all the proof of order numbers in here for you to easily look at relating to that item. And then it obviously also keeps a running total, which is great for if you're doing, refurbishment budgets or shopping lists. It just allows you to keep track of how much you're spending. And then similarly, if you're doing, multiple HMOs or multiple serviced accommodation units at one time, so you've got multiple shopping lists to do, rather than writing it all out, you can just click duplicate this group, duplicate items, and I've already done it down here. And then it just duplicates the whole group, and there's more and more checklists. So you can just keep on going on and ordering and saving the right information against those shopping lists. Just going to stop that for now. So that's kind of how it works with numbers. Obviously, this is very basic in terms of I've just done a shopping list, but things like refurbishment budgets and things like that, and adding on further columns of information, it is just really valuable. And then the most interesting thing that I've found with Monday is working with private investors and how it's made everything so much more seamless and so much easier for me and them to work together. So this has got a little purple mark here because it's a shareable board. So this means that you can set up a board and then basically share people into it and all they can see is that board. They don't see the rest of your boards. So Stockport Road is a development that we're doing with a joint venture partner. So I've shared him into this board, and this is just our, basically our entire status report with all the various files all saved, really well organised that we can both refer to. So I've grouped everything into pre-completion, build, and then miscellaneous. So pre-completion, these are all the things that we need to do before we've completed. So legals, planning, JV agreement, pre-valuations, bill quotes, all that kind of stuff. So for example, here in legals, if I click on this, the file saving conversation bubble I mentioned earlier, I've uploaded here all of the searches, all of the legal report on titles, and Paul, who's the partner, he can just go in and read it directly on monday.com. So this is being a bit slow, I think, because we're probably on Zoom as well. But normally so he can just go in and look at these searches directly on here. So rather than me having to attach it to an email, send it to him download it and then read it on his computer, it's just all here for him to just keep note of. And then likewise, if there's anything unclear, Paul can just write a note that just says, Natalie, the coal mining search is missing, and then that'll be saved on this line item legals. So it just makes it all really, really well organised for both of us. And it means that we don't have a load of documents taking up storage on our computers either. You can see that I've obviously been able to tag him and stuff. So he's looking at the JV agreement at the moment. So that's a note for him that he needs to send back his feedback to me by tomorrow. And then there's just kind of various updates and next steps that I've done. So this is pre-completion. This is why it's useful, because you'll be sharing a load of documents with investors pre-completion. And then this is during the build. And this is where it's even more helpful because of these two columns that you can add, which are timeline and a budget column. So if you imagine, at the moment, these are a bit empty because we haven't finalised the building regs drawings yet. But if you imagine once those building regs drawings are finished, this is going to be filled with all those different levels of detail on the things that are going on in the refurbishment projects. So I've got one here that's windows, for example, because we know we're going to be needing new windows. And then you'll be plotting into your timeline roughly when all those different stages of the refurbishment are happening. And then once you've plotted all of this in, you can then go up here to views. This drop down allows you to see it in different views, and you can go to timeline view, and you can both just going to move it up because you guys are in the way, and then you can just scroll along to see. I mean, this is empty because, like I said, I've not plotted it in, but he'll be able to see, oh look, windows are going in there, and oh right, kitchens are in there, and flooring, and you can just easily see a timeline of the refurbishment. So if I go back to the main table, and similarly, because I'm the project manager and I need to be checking on what's on site, when everything is done and I'm going to site every week, I'll be sharing all my photos that relate to each of these things. So when the windows are done, I'll share photos of the windows in the windows section, and anything that's a problem or we need to be aware of, I'll write it in this section rather than just a full list that relates to all different areas of the build. Then you've got the budget column. So some of these at the moment are estimates. But again, it means that as we're going through the job, if any line item budgets are changing, I can just keep updating it here. And then me and Paul can easily go in and see how that total cost is changing and what is changing. So when we've got a window quote, but we've got a kitchen quote. I put £5,000 in as an estimate from Magnet. Let's say the kitchen's coming at 4,500. I'll update that. I'll put that as final cost, and then that automatically changes that total. So Paul can just easily go and see how much things are costing and what's done. And whenever anything is done, I'd mark it as done. So windows are getting done, kitchens are done, cellar conversions done. So, and it really easily means we can both keep track of exactly what's happening on site. And then this group, this is just miscellaneous. So similar to pre-completion, this is just different areas of the project that we need to be talking about. So the marketing and the sales agent and things like that I've just listed under MISC. And then what else? So as you can see, when I go to the top, if I hover over me or Paul, he's not up here at the moment. I wonder why he's not up here. Okay, normally Paul's face is there, so just imagine it is there. But if I hover over me, it says I viewed it a few seconds ago. That also happens with Paul, so I can see if he's been online today and has seen the latest updates. And if he hasn't, I'll send him a message and say, look, there's an urgent update on monday.com. Can you just go on and have a look? So it just enables you to see how often they're looking at it and how often they're keeping track of the project as well, which can be quite interesting. Oh, good. It's made us a bit longer. So what else with this board? Oh yeah, so with Monday, there's a load of integrations that you can do with other applications and platforms. So up here, we've got this integrations icon. If I click on this, you can see it, you can link it up with all these various platforms. Now, I haven't even scratched the surface with this yet, but because I use Gmail, I've integrated this board with Gmail, and that's why there's the icon there. And it basically means that I can, any emails that I get or email information, I can really easily just forward it onto Monday, because each of these line items are given their own unique email address by Monday, which is here. So if you see here, when you click on this pops up, it says write updates via email. What I do is I copy this, which is the unique address that Monday gives to every item. I copy this, and then I'll go into my Gmail, forward it on, which is exactly what I've done under here. And so this whole email chain about the commercial inquiries and responses has just forwarded straight through to monday.com. So Paul can just go on and see this whole email chain. So rather than having to download it and re-upload it, I just forward it straight on from my email. I'm just trying to think what else is there. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. If you've got on one board, you're only ever allowed exactly the same columns. So for example, I've got my 3 groups here, which are pre-completion, build, and miscellaneous. And really it's only build that I want to be keeping, that the budget's really important. But I wouldn't be able to have the budget column on build, but not on these other groups. So you can see that the budget column appears here, but I've just left it vacant. So basically across the whole board, you need to have exactly the same columns in every group. It's automatic. And if you need to change the column structures, then you need to set up an entirely new board for that new structure. And then, so that's kind of how I work with private investors on projects with Monday. And then, I mean, it also does really basic stuff. So I use this for my to-do list now, and for both business and personal. So these are all the to-dos that I have to do. Obviously, it's just me. And then I'll do, as soon as I've done it, I'll click done. And that means that it basically takes it off my to-do list. And this is through something called automations, which is this robot here. Now, automations can get very complicated, but automations is basically you saying to Monday, if this action happens, Monday needs to do this action. So what I've done is I've set up an automation here that says when a status changes to done, archive the item. But there's hundreds and hundreds of these different automations that you can set up that I won't go through now. But you can do things like when I change a status, notify someone. When a certain date arrives that might be in that column, notify someone. There's all these various automations that you can set up as well that you might want to take a look at. But because it's a to-do list, all I want it to do is when I've done it, just take that off my list. I'm just trying to think what else. Yeah, so that's really what I use it for. So, I mean, you can use it across anything. You use it across personal and business. Um, it's just mainly just a great tool to kind of save a lot of time and to store quite a lot of information in a very organized way so that you can easily find it, and easily share it with other people as well. So I think I might have raced through that quite quickly. But so if you guys have questions, yeah, definitely fire away, because there's probably loads that I didn't go into enough detail about. Let me just open up the chat. So who have we got? Have you used anything else? I wonder if I chose as opposed to another. I've used Trello before, but I found this is much easier to organize various pieces of information than Trello. I think because Trello has those, from memory, it was a few years ago now, Trello has those lists. So I feel like the organization and the timeline of what you're saving just it isn't as easy to organize as on here. But again, it was quite a few years ago when I used Trello. Did you have to import the last 2 years of data? Is it easy to import? So no, because I've been using this for 2 years now. But in terms of the importing, you can do what I said before, where if you've got email notes, you can just forward those email notes onto monday.com, so they appear in that line item. Can you add links? Yeah, you can add links. I'll just go back to that in case you guys didn't see it. But so on materials orders, I've got a file that has links. So yeah, if you view properties, you obviously add a link here to the property listing on where's it gone? Yeah, if you've had links, you obviously add the link here to the property that you've seen on Rightmove. So yeah, that's just a format of the column would be links. When the tags and FU dates on your viewings list, how does Monday notify you? Does it email you, or is there an app that pings on your phone? So you can choose how it notifies you. So yeah, you can get an email. You usually get a daily email from Monday, unless you turn it off, that says these are the things that you need to do today. If you don't want that daily notification, when you go on, there's this thing here that says My Week, and this is basically a list of everything you need to be doing that week. So that's like your to-do list for the week. How much have you had to set up apart from your boards? Not just my boards really. And then with boards, actually, this is something that I should have mentioned, is that so with the boards, I tend to do a blank board because I like to structure the boards exactly how I like them. So I would just create a board. Let's just call this Property Sisters. So this is just creating a board now. So it automatically just comes up with these basic rows, and it's given me like a status column. But I can obviously, if I don't want a status column, I can just, I'm going to move you guys. There we go. I could just delete this column. And then you can just add as many columns as you want. So let's say you want a timeline column, you want a tags column, and you can just, take in and out those columns, but it's really easy. So that's if you want to build it yourself. But then similarly, there's also templates that Monday have, which are great. So if I load these templates, there's templates for absolutely everything. So you've got like a sales process template, job recruitment, if you're doing a job recruitment. If you guys like to plan your social media, this would be a good tool too. I should really do this, but I just haven't had the time. But let's say I create this social media schedule. It automatically preloads this example template of a social media board. And it means that you can just add in, the topic for that social media content, the owner, so who needs to post it, I would be posting it, the channel, the publish date, the link. So let's say you've seen someone else do a social media post that you like, you might link that to be like, oh, this is what I want to copy with my post. So yeah, there's loads of different templates that you can use dependent on what it is. But as a base level, I just tend to start from the blank and build it for me.
Natalie?
Yeah.
Do you know if you can post directly from monday.com or if it's linked to a schedule app or platform?
So I haven't tried, but I imagine because it has all these integrations now,
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were able to. Let me just see. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, yeah, something
It's
to
not,
look.
it's
Okay.
not, they're not listed in there, so maybe not. But yeah, that would, oh, there we go. Facebook coming soon. So that must be something they're thinking of doing. But yeah, it's still good, I guess, just if you want to be planning out all of your social media so you don't have to be thinking about it every day. Have you such about the analytics on the data uploaded, e.g. by end of 2020 once they took place? Yes, I'm almost positive there is a download place. Let me just close this. So if I go onto my viewings, is it on here? Yeah, so you can then export all your viewings to Excel. You can just export certain groups, and then you'll be able to, you can then use Excel, or then you can then save it as a PDF. Is that kind of what you meant, Devinda? I don't know if she's still here.
Hello, sorry, I'm trying to unmute
yeah,
myself.
is that what you meant?
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. And then I actually saw it and I was like, yes, there it is, export to Excel.
Oh, okay, great.
And also on the other way, then, can you import data from
I'm not
Excel?
sure. I've never tried to do it because I've just done everything fresh. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure because I guess the data would need to line up exactly with the group columns that you've got here. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
No worries. And then, so what type of board is material orders to get the calculation done? So this is, you're just adding on here, adding a, oh God, look at all my windows. Sorry. You're adding a column to the right that is a numbers column. So that's where you'd write maybe the price or the quantity. And then if you want it to be a formula, so to work out the calculations for you, you add a column to the right, you go more columns, and then you go formulas, add this, and then the formula you basically put here, it will be the quantity times the price column. And that's how it works out all of the formulas for you. So yeah, so similar to Excel as well. Am I on the free version? So I'm on the paid one. So we're on the one that's like £50 a month, which is quite expensive. But this has replaced the need for kind of Evernote. I was paying, I don't know, £12 a month for, and things like that. We both use it. You can get a cheaper version, which is I think around maybe 20 or less than 20, but the storage is much lower. So if you're wanting to save all the photos from all your viewings on it, I think you need the upgraded £50 a month version. I think I've lost you guys. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't see the little I can't see, the little, oh, here we go. Sorry. There we go. I can tell I've not done one of these before. Cool. Yeah. So basically you need to spend the £50 a month to be able to save as many images as you want. So comparing these to designers at the comms and the CRM elements. Yeah, definitely. We've just spoken about the cost. And then, yeah, Monday pricing. Thanks for that, Jess. Yeah. And then you can do a 14-day trial. Oh yeah, and then so archive tasks, you can find that there's an area to look for it, and then anything that you delete, it automatically saves it for 30 days. So if you delete something and you're like, oh, that was a massive mistake, I need to get that all back, it's saved in your archive area for 30 days as well. And yeah, Devinda, it is amazing in terms of doing like refurbs and keeping track of it all, especially if you're working with private investors. So yeah, that's kind of it. I don't know if you guys had any more questions or any thoughts on it.
Can I just ask on the CRM front? I mean, it's amazing, and thanks very much for doing the demo and letting us all gate crash be.
No.
You're one of my. In terms of CRM, do you know if there are any drawbacks to it being CRM? Because one of the things that I'm thinking about is CRM. I mean, this is so much more, but I'd be thinking CRM and the project management side. Do you know if there are major drawbacks to using this for a CRM system versus some of the others that might be out there? Like I think Podio. Has anyone ever used Podio and can compare and contrast this with Podio?
Yeah, a little bit, kind of, but I hate Podio.
Oh, okay.
How
Why
does
is that?
that work?
I just feel it's not user friendly. I struggle to, it's not. Yeah, it's just not user friendly to me.
I tried to use Podio, and I'm with B on this one. I just completely gave up on setting it up, and I felt like I had to employ somebody to set it up.
Okay.
So I gave up.
So, for example, I've got a database, and I know you said, Natalie, that you've not done imports before, and you'd have to really be careful about matching up fields and things. But so I've got various things that I use, and MailChimp's one of them, and I can see that there's an interface with MailChimp, but I'm just wondering if I could use it as a CRM system, importing my data, and then use that as an interface with MailChimp, but it sounds like you might not have done that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think the fact that if it does do the integration with MailChimp, because all the other integrations I've read about them have been really effective, and the thing with Gmail is great, I would definitely recommend doing the free trial and seeing how it works with MailChimp, because what you can do then is, I think I mentioned before about these automations. So it might be that that, for example, if you've got a Monday board around the last time you spoke to someone, what they said, when they want to hear back, you can always set up like automations in Monday that link out to MailChimp as well. So it would, so I don't exactly know how it would work with MailChimp, but it would say, you know, if you do a certain action in Monday, so let's say you do a check on one of the items, it automatically affects something in MailChimp. So that's what the automations are for as well, is it automates things with the integrations that you've got here. But yeah, no, I definitely think have a play around with that, because I've not tried to link it up with MailChimp or anything yet. But yeah, like I said, in terms of the main area where I think it's most strong is if you're working with private investors, to keep them, you know, have really full transparency on the project and exactly what's going on, and making it as easy as possible. Like if it's easy for them to keep an eye on the project, they're going to want to work with you again, because you're saving them time. Like you don't want them to have to download big clunky files of photos and have to read an email from you that links to a photo they can't find in the attachment folder. It makes it all seamless, and it just, I think, makes you come across much more professional as well, if it's all there and you're really transparent too.
You've not had any resistance from investors who aren't particularly tech-minded to actually use this at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, so Paul, who's doing Stockport Road with us, he's never used it before, and he is a bit like, and he found it a bit hard to get used to. But now that he's used it, like, let's say 2 or 3 times, not a lot of times, he really, really likes it. And it's just things like, again, with all the legal things for him to read, it's much better for him to be reading it on here than having it all stored on his computer. And it's much more secure as well, because we're both password protected and everything.
And does he need like a subscription, or
no? He doesn't.
Is it just off yours?
Yeah, he just comes off this. So that's why he's only on this shareable board. He can't see the rest of these. So no, he doesn't have to pay for a subscription. I think he'll probably have to sign up, but
okay.
It's really simple.
All right, cool. Thank you. It's helpful.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, did anyone else have any other questions?
Yeah, so if you are, did I understand correctly? You only pay once, and then you can have a number of users using the package. So if you are working with investors or VAs, it will be under one license. They would download their own version, or
yeah.
This is, you run this off of web, of internet, or is it an app which you install?
Yeah, so you can run it off the web. You can also download it, and then there's a phone app as well. But yeah, it comes with your pricing, the number of users that you get. So, for example, this is actually Sam's Monday. He pays for it, but then I'm one of his admin users, so I can use it as I want. And then I've obviously added Paul and our other investors to certain boards. So that again might depend on cost, how many different people you can invite to your boards. But again, it can definitely be tailored for as many as you want or as few as you want.
Now,
But
I
yeah.
got another question, Nat,
Great.
because we're using a lot Google Drive to store everything.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, in terms of storage, do you only store everything in Monday.com, or do you have like a backup somewhere, or?
No, so now since lockdown, I'm storing everything on here. So all the stuff for Stockport Road is being saved on here. I mean, everything's in my emails anyway, but yeah, I'm not storing it here and on Google Drive, no.
Can you buy extra storage? I'm just thinking long term, and if it goes really big.
Yeah, so I think in the pricing,
I'm asking you this, but I'll just go and look at the pricing. Everything is on
yeah,
there.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
It must be unlimited storage, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
No worries.
Nat, sorry, I think I missed the when you were saying about whether your builder uses this. It's almost like a Gantt chart progress.
Oh yeah, I'll open that. Yeah.
Does your builder link in with this with you?
No.
Do you have a separate way of managing that with your builder?
Yeah, I don't think he'd use this at all. He doesn't even like sending emails, so I'm not going to be able to get him on Monday.com. But this is more for kind of for me and Paul to check the weeks. Obviously, I'll refer to the builder when I'm creating this to check that we're all on schedule and that we're on the same page. But yeah, this is more for me because I'm project managing, and then for Paul to use as reference as well. But what you can do is that if I go into kind of timeline view, you can then, export this schedule into an Excel doc and then into a PDF, and then you could always print that off and put that on site so the builder can see exactly, the timeline that you're working with as well.
Thank you.
Natalie, and what will happen if in the future you decide not to use the Monday anymore and you want to go to another package? What will happen to all your documents? Because if we are using Dropbox, we've got them, they are ours, but here you said everything is stored by Monday.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think I'd probably have to download everything onto my computer. But again, because you download different groups separately, it would still save it in those organized groups. It's just that, again, you would probably have to take time to download it all.
Natalie.
Yeah.
Before, sorry, I couldn't tell whether I was on mute or not. You mentioned before using Monday.com, what were the other systems and platforms that you were using that you've now stopped using? So you mentioned Evernote. You're doing like a note taking. What have you moved away from?
So mainly Evernote. I had a to-do list that was called Todoist, I think. So it's at the bottom here somewhere. Then just like notes. So I was just using my Apple Notes to put notes about everything, and then that was really difficult to keep track of. Google Drive, and then that's probably about it that I was using before. And then obviously it's things like I had loads of Excel spreadsheets for budgets and for shopping lists, and they all live on here now as well, rather than in Google Drive and on Excel.
Thank you.
No worries. Because I think things like, I don't know if you guys have the Google Drive app or the Excel app on your phone. If you want to like make any amendments to an Excel doc on your phone, it can be quite clunky and quite difficult to zoom in and out. Whereas, Monday.com has a phone app that's a bit more user-friendly too.
I guess you still got like a good old spreadsheet to do all your calculation for a deal or something.
Yeah, but again, so that's the next thing that I'm going to be doing with this is I'm going to be, I'm sure there's a way where I can bring my deal spreadsheets into Monday as well, because they've got that formulas, because they've got the formula column. There's no reason why it won't be able to do those calculations that I do on Excel. But that's just going to be a bit more complex to kind of plan out. It's not as simple as doing these status reports. So yeah, ideally I'm going to have a new board that will be our ROI spreadsheet. And then it means that when I go on a viewing, I'll have my property viewings that will have a tag that says, property tag, click on the property, and I can then open up the ROI spreadsheet for that property and the viewing board for that property. So that's kind of, the next step that I need to go into. Did anyone else have any other questions?
That was very useful. Thank you very
Natalie.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. When did you feel, at what point were you in your journey, 2 years ago, that you felt you needed something like this to invest in?
I guess I probably more fell into it because Sam was using it already. And so he was using it for his business, and he just said, he saw that I was taking notes on everything and just said, you need to join Monday and put it all in here. So it was mainly through that that I started. But I think, anyone who's doing refurbishment projects and viewings, like as a minimum, that means kind of Monday's useful for you. And then as you grow, it just means that you're used to it if you're inviting, investors onto your boards, or doing CRM tracking and things like that.
Do you use a CRM system? Or
No,
do you just mainly use this then?
I just use this, yeah. So I've got here, and again, that's something I've just started doing in lockdown, is investors. So this is just people who I've spoken to, when I last spoke to them, what they've said, what they're looking for, and then potential funds. But yeah, so that's really all I've got in terms of that.
I'm going to need to go, Natalie, but just say thank you very much. That was incredibly useful. So thank you very much for sharing.
That's fine. If anybody has any more questions, obviously just reach out to me, and I can let you know. But like I said, I've not even scratched the surface with this. This is just, boards that I've created that have really saved me a lot of time. But with all the automations and integrations you can do, there's hundreds of other features that I've not even touched yet. So it is a really good platform. Cool. I think that's it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. One sec. Stop share. I think that's it. So I hope that was helpful. Sorry if it was a bit rushed.
No, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Don't worry. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. And cool. Have a good rest of your week, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers. You too. Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.